Hello and welcome to 4,000 Counting. I am Watty, and today I am joined by the boys behind the Enforcer short film. It's Mr. Frankie Sabini and Mr. James Ayling. Boys, welcome to 4,000 Counting. Very, very happy to have you lads on the show.
Thank you very much. Really looking forward to doing the podcast, and thanks for inviting us.
Thanks, mate. Good to see you.
Right, boys. So we've been off air for an hour chatting shit and just shooting shit and getting to know each other a little bit better. But you guys sent me the link way back, and because I'm ADHD as fuck, I didn't want to watch the movie until right before I was gonna gonna do it because, funnily enough, the movie is, for those that don't know, about an aging ice hockey player going through the end of his career and coming to terms with CTE and like showing signs of CTE and all these type of things. Well, my brain's right up there on forgetting shit and everything else that goes along with that. Funnily enough, being a I hate to call myself the enforcer though. I need to air quote that shit, the enforcer. But it's something that we've talked about on this podcast with Dan Carcido. We've talked on this podcast with Dr. Victoria Silverwood, with Nick Rothwell, and many other people way more qualified than myself to talk about it. The fact that a couple of British boys from the British ice hockey scene, went out there and put it out there for everybody to see. I think it's fucking amazing. The movie is class, lads. We'll go into it a little bit deeper and a little bit later on, but the fact that you did what you did with the limited or zero budget that you had, I thought you absolutely nailed it on. And that's why I wanted to watch it the day before that you fellas come on, so it's fresh in the brain. And I would encourage all of the 4,000 Counting fans. I know like 500 of you have already jumped on of it since yesterday. All of you need to watch it. It's really poignant. It's hard hitting. It's raw. It's sad in points. It's maybe more raw for me because I know the role and I know the loneliness and I know the bitterness and I know the fear and the addiction and everything that comes with it. And I think there's a line in the movie. They don't fucking tell you that when you're eight. Something I might be bastardizing that line, but I I knew what I was signing up for. Me and my brother used to kick the living shit out of each other every week, knowing that when we turn pro, that this is going. And the game was like that then. When we turn pro, we're going to have to do this, and we were always talented enough to turn pro, so it was inevitable that it was going to happen. But when you're eight, they don't fucking tell you it. So, boys, that's my introduction to Mr. Frankie and Mr. James on the show. Ladies and gents, make sure you go and watch The Enforcer. It's on YouTube. It's on our page right now. Boys, congratulations. Fantastic movie. Before we get into the movie, let's get James, let's hit you up first. Little bit of ice hockey background about yourself. I know you're kind of Essex boys over here, but you were on different parts of Essex, one Chelmsford, one Romford, but you boys come together. James, talk us through like your hockey career before getting into like your movie career and documentaries and music videos, Magaluf and everything else.
Magluf, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but so I played Chelmsford through and through since I was a kid and played sort of chieftains for since I was 16. So probably like close to 15 years. I started playing, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. So just Chelmsford through and through. I did all the usual South East and England and GB under 18s and stuff. And then, but yeah, when I started out just in the film industry, started out sort of acting when I was in my sort of late teens, early 20s, and then that didn't really
Helps being a
work out.
handsome fuck, doesn't it? Look at
That's it.
look
Yeah,
at that fucking
I
head of
think that
hair
was.
right there.
I mean, you should. This is like unfortunately, I remember like when I was younger, I would turn up to auditions with like broken noses and chipped tooth and stuff from the game the night
Black eyes
before.
with
So. And now I'm on my fifth nose job at the moment. So yeah, just from
it.
just from getting hit. But yeah, and then like basically started moved into production and then started doing sort of documentaries, music videos, and then now my sort of bread and butter is sort of TV commercials and things like that. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much me. I think that's just got my life summed up in 2 minutes.
Well, you were smart enough to stay on this side of the puck. This dummy fucking stood on the other side of it. Whatever wanted to make you be a fucking goalie, man. Jesus Christ. Like,
Honestly, I don't know because I actually weren't a bad player as a kid either. Just just enjoyed. I don't know where it was. I played football in goal, played hockey in goal. Do you know what it is? I think it was. I'm not
your
a
parents'
massive
worst
team,
nightmare, by the way.
mate. Honestly,
Like,
so I boxed since I was 3. I come from a boxing family, and I got pushed away from boxing because it was too dangerous. End up playing ice hockey in
put
goal,
you in
which
goal.
was probably even worse. But I started at Romford. When Raiders 16 when they were still the last season in the EPL. When we was getting turned over about 15 nils by every bloody team because we had like 6 players, and I was the only goalie for half the season. So like that was my
Was
introduction
was
to
that
adult
was
hockey.
that the year that Luke Piggott came down, a few of the Cardiff boys came down? I'm sure it is because it's that 2010, ooh, 9, 10. You had, I remember we interviewed one of the boys on here and we looked at that Romford roster and there was like
Yeah.
fucking 53 players and 9 goalies in a season. It was like
No, we had 7 players. We
no,
sacked everybody that
I don't
season.
mean full time. I just mean like
Oh yeah,
they were
it was
like, oh,
ridiculous.
Ray from Mexico's over there. He's
Yeah,
got his
yeah.
fucking skates with him. He can come in and have a shift. It was like watching a
Honestly,
Dean Youngblood tryout.
it was ridiculous. I remember sitting in Manchester's rink. Right, I was 16, my first full game as an adult, and I had Ty Miller next to me, Joe
Legend.
Sladdock, Danny Marshall. I think I think Brian Taylor was there, and a couple of others. And all of a sudden, a couple of the boys started getting rum out and just drinking rum in the thing. I was thinking, mate, I've got to stand in front of these pucks, and you're all just like
Yeah,
drinking
you'll
rum
get
before the
buckled.
game. But I done, yeah, done a full season Raiders, dropped back down to the league, the league below. I think it was Buccaneers at the time, or something like that. The
Yeah, I
second
think
team in
Buccaneers,
Romford.
yeah.
Yeah, dropped down to there, not getting a 6 month ban. So I come away from hockey, went back into hockey, back
Whoa, whoa,
with
whoa, 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 whoa. We ain't just gonna fuck you ain't just gonna throw out you got a 6 month ban and we ain't gonna talk about it. I got a
I
fucking 8. I got an 8 and a 2 year ban, mate, and everybody
I
knows
got
the
an 18
score on
month
that.
ban at one point. Yeah, I so the 6 month ban was because I dropped back down the leagues, and arrogantly being 16 thought I was far too good for the second league. I just didn't care, and I've always had fights as a junior and things like that. As a goalie, obviously, you seem to get banned or get in a lot more trouble having a fight. So, yeah, someone shot the puck after the whistle. One of my mates, Do you know Sam Crawford? I don't know if you ever
Yeah, I
played
know the name,
against
yeah,
him.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know the name.
so he's grabbed the player, and as he's grabbed the player, someone's jumped him from behind. So then I've ended up having a fight. But I'm 5'7.5". This geezer was like 6'4". So I kept my blocker on, and I ended up smashing him to pieces. And it was just like he's just the damage. The ban was because of the damage, basically. So come away
Me,
from
me and Carl
hockey.
Ambler did that on fucking training in Bracknell one night. Like,
The nutter and all. I
oh,
remember I played.
Scrams was a lunatic, mate.
Oh mate, he was my coach as a junior because he was as a
What?
Raiders at the time. Yeah, I
What?
know he was a lunatic, right? And then I remember playing against him when I was 16, and it was a bit of a bench clearance. And obviously, I really always looked up to him. And he was centre ice, and he's grabbed me. He went, "Do you want to go?" I was like, "Fuck." I was like, "All right, then, yeah, I'll go." And he went, "Yeah." I went, "Yeah, I'll go." And he like went to shape up, and then hugged me and started laughing. And I was like, "Fuck."
Oh, honestly, like, so me and Scrams are the same age, right? And he was in Victor as a kid, and he was in Romford. He bounced around all those Essex fucking teams down there, and we used to get after it. But we always used to get on, yeah. But we were just competitors. And then when I went to Bees and they were looking for a goalie, it was like, who's you want? And I was like, we ain't got no money really, but Scrams will get the job done. And it got to like November, and we just fucking driving each other crazy. And I remember it was at the start of practice as well. Nothing had even happened yet. I don't even think we'd done the fucking 2 hot laps yet. And like we're out there, we got the gloves off, helmets off, we fucking having it. Because I played with Scrams and Slough like a couple of years
Yeah.
before. One of the best guys. But if there's ever an advert for goalies being fucking taps, Carl Ambler is the poster boy for goalies being
100%.
tapped. He's just he was a different beast, but also one of my favorite teammates I've ever had. Right,
Red, yeah.
he'd be like, "What?" Because he was a music producer, wasn't he? He'd come in and he'd have this like fucking grimy, like he'd be like, "Have you heard this new D&B track?" Fucking, he'd have like tape. Sorry for any of you new kids that are watching tape cassettes. They used to be a fucking thing, right? And then we had CDs before we had iTunes, yeah. Like Scrams would come in, he'd have like the best of like I don't know, whatever rave he's just fucking got home from at 8 a.m. before the game. Like just like there you go. Here's a burnt CD of the rave I was fucking DJing at last night. And it would be quality. He'd always hook you up. He's just one of the guys.
Brilliant.
I'd love to tell you some real stories on here about our days in Slough, but it would get the
Yeah.
podcast cancelled.
Do it off,
Get
off there.
I'll tell you boys off there.
And you're arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, though. Let's not start the pod. We're only 5 minutes in. Let's not get arrested off the start. But it's just good to have a couple of hockey boys going out and dealing with poignant subjects such as CTE. And I think you boys fucking nailed it. Like you really did. And we're going to get into the movie and we're going to get into scenes and we're going to get into some different bits and pieces as we go on here. But I want to know where the kind of where that spark came from. James, I understand that. Sorry, ladies and gents, getting a little bit grayer since this podcast started. Oh, boys, 6 years we've been at this shit now. Can't believe it. 6 years, 4,000
Congratulations.
cat next month, man. Jesus. It wasn't supposed to go like that. Let me tell you, like we didn't think it'd ever be a long-lasting thing like this. I know we've lost a couple of people along the way, but I definitely didn't think it was going to go like this. I thought we were going to be like one and done. But boys, so where did brainchild come from? Where did the initial kind of spark, James? Where did it come from?
I mean, initially, just like the transition into playing hockey my whole life to then into film, I think like everything's a story. Do you know what I mean? Like that you're always looking for stories and you're always looking for. So I've been kind of trying to develop projects for a while, and I've had a few sort of near sort of things that have happened with different stories. But someone was like, you need to make something that is so personal to yourself, especially when you're making your first sort of big sort of feature film. So and it was the most sort of personal project to me. And I think kind of playing hockey my whole life, there's not a sport like it that just has so many characters and so many like
Degenerates.
stories. Like I mean, yeah, I know you're degenerates, yeah, but I mean, we've been chatting before the podcast for like an hour, and then with the amount of stories that we've all got and shared, and it's like about the same people and everything else, and it's like,
Oh, by the way,
and
this
I think
podcast
that,
would be way better if we just recorded that first hour and then
yeah,
just sacked the rest of it off. But
yeah.
unfortunately, you guys aren't privy to that because we don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's especially like the film industry. Frankie knows now he's in it, and he's experienced film sets and stuff like that. For me, film sets are, oh God, they can be a nightmare. I'm luckily the ones that we run pretty good, but like the people that you have on, there's a lot of people that I'm going to offend a lot of people now in the film industry that watch this, but fuck
Get
you.
in. Yeah, get in.
No, and but so there's a lot of people like playing hockey at the weekends and having like the sort of rawness and the and just being with the boys and the games and everything's like real. You know what I mean? Like you got hockey, you go out, there's two teams play, and someone comes on top, someone wins, someone loses, and that's it. And it's just that's it. And I think, and then obviously in the film industry, there's a lot of like pampering. There's a lot of I don't want to say woke stuff. There's a lot of things going on. So
If you
yeah, I
don't want to
think
say it, I'm happy to say it. Right? I'm more than fucking happy because I'm done with this
yeah,
woke bullshit culture that we are in right now. Like I'm about as fucking old school as you can get, and this is probably why the podcast is popular because everybody's sick of it. Everybody's sick of it. No one gives a fuck what your pronouns are. No one gives a shit. Like seriously, like you want to come to our game? come. If you're a he, him, her, fucking Z, they, no one cares. Keep that shit to yourself. Just come be a fan. Much the same as they said in Belfast. Do not wear religious colours. Much the same as they said in Glasgow. Come be a Glasgow Clan fan. Do not wear your religious colours. It is fuck all to do with sport. The same thing with this woke culture that we're trying to cancel everybody. And I saw someone try to cancel Eminem for calling Lizzo fat. That bitch is fat as fuck. Like, are we fucking on? Are we on drugs here? Like, what are we talking about? That bitch is fucking fat. Eminem is a gangster rapper. He is obviously gonna pick on the fact that she is fat, and they're like, "Oh my god, we should cancel Eminem because he said Lizzo's fat." No, Lizzo fat bitch. She's gonna fucking jog. Like, let's stop it here. Like, we have now a little bit of power within this cut. And I did it to you boys off air, and I'll do it on air because I hate it. Media. Um, it makes me cringe to my soul to think of myself as media, yeah. But we have the power to stop this shit. We have the power to stop it. Everybody's welcome at hockey. Everybody. Let's not start forcing. Imagine if we all started forcing our fucking religious beliefs or political beliefs or whatever it may be on each other. It ruins it. Ice hockey's never been like that for me. Ice hockey has never been like that, ever. When I was a junior, it wasn't like that. When I was a pro, it wasn't like that. It shouldn't now go down that road. And it's interesting that you said like some of the film industry is definitely going down that road. And I imagine it all comes down to the geezer that signs the checks. And the guy that signs the big dollars, he's the guy that's got the say, and everybody else underneath. I say guy, it could be a woman, it could be anybody. But it comes down to whoever's signing the ticket, you got to go on with their beliefs. And I don't believe in that. This is why this podcast has been successful because we challenge that and we want as a sport, as a podcast, but as a sport, we want our sport to progress. If you're in the movie industry, you want your industry to progress. We don't want it to be held back by the offended few. If you're offended, go fuck yourself. Like honestly, like and if you're offended watching this, literally hit unsubscribe, go off my Facebook, go off my Instagram. I'm gonna lose zero sleep. Like literally none whatsoever. It doesn't bother me. I'd rather have people that are willing to come on and talk about CTE. I don't think people really understand what like a difficult subject that is to talk about. And it's something we talked on off air. Unless you've been there, it's very difficult to understand. Unless you've, and your movie does this brilliantly, by the way. Unless you've been stood in the middle of the queue in fucking Audi and you get a crippling headache from nowhere. And I say a crippling headache, I mean one that wants to fucking take the back of your knees out like someone just hit you with a baseball bat. That makes you shudder to your fucking toes, to the bones in your toes, and it feels like someone's squeezing your head into a vice. You don't get a vote, I'm afraid. You don't get a
Yeah.
vote. And what you boys did in that movie was that, and whoever did the sound, by the way, who done the sound for you boys?
I did, yeah. I edited it myself. But
Mate,
had
brilliant. Sounds brilliant and so poignant for the moments.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah. It's funny you should like. Well, going back to what you were saying about the guy signing the checks. I think so. Like the main sort of thing that we were trying to make when we were making the film was like we have a feature script that we're producing this year that we're making this. This is just obviously for transparency. This is a film that we've made for no money with nothing over 3 days. To shoot 45 minutes over 3 days is unheard of. Like
You boys done that in
usually it
3 days.
was it
What?
3 days, Frank?
No, 3.5, 4, wasn't it? That last day.
4 days.
Last day, everyone
Yeah, we
turned
were
up
pissed, we were
hungover.
pissed up on
Frankie sound like a builder out there. Yeah, we're definitely on site. 4 days, yeah, 4 days. We had a pub from 11 on the fourth day, but yeah, well, we checked in. That's all right.
Yeah, I count the
Yeah, it
full
was,
day
yeah.
as a half a day. Everyone was smashed and hungover.
Yeah, that was when we did all the hockey stuff, the fighting stuff at Chelmsford, and then we woke up. Well, it was all from the night before, which was our sort of rap party thing, and then we had to go get to Chelmsford drink, and poor old Jonas had to put some go on the ice, put my old smelly kit on, and go out and have a fight.
Did he wear your jockstrap? We ask all the important questions at 4,000 count. And did he have to wear your sweaty jock?
Yeah, no, he did. He,
Considering he's never played hockey or really watched hockey before, he half done well in that fight. Like he looked like a hockey player, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, mate. Honestly, like, and I think what you boys did very clever. The camera angles were good. Like, if you got me and James out there throwing fucking hands, you can go any camera angle you want, right? But when you clearly got an actor that doesn't fucking act and can't stand, doesn't act, doesn't play hockey, and has never been in a on ice fist
and it's
fight.
shooting a ITV show the next week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's not bash this geezer up too bad. But no,
yeah.
I think he did very well. And one of my favorite shots. And also, before we get to one of my favourite shots, the fact that you boys got Dino Biro on there. Dino, Scottish as fuck. I'm guessing that you cast him as a Scot because there was nothing else going on there other than. And if anyone knows Dean Birrell, he played himself, like literally. Like he played Dino. And what I also enjoyed when he gets told he's gonna get moved on a little bit, Dino try to like soften it up a little bit. I'm trying to picture Dino in real life going, "Listen, lad, you need to fuck off, like, like you're done here." Dino's like, "Oh, fucking it," but
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I just think you boys did a fucking great job, and you talked about
Yeah.
it. Talked about it like being in this short film format with like zero budget. Do you think having some extra eyes on this and once the views start to grow, ultimately when this podcast goes out, more people are gonna go and watch it and I'll definitely play my part in hopefully promoting you guys and getting more eyes on it. Do you hope that that's gonna make for like a feature length movie in like due time? I know you said you got the script there. It's there to turn it into that. How does it all work from like your kind of from like the kind of Hollywood side? How does that work?
Let James take this one because I'm sort of quite new to the
Frank,
industry, but
Frankie's like, please don't ask me.
no, it's. I mean, for me,
I'll
we
yeah, I go on,
go
Frank.
on,
You go on. There you go. I'll start and you can carry on.
go on.
Just from the basically what happened was when well, I'd say if we start from the story, like what I was saying before, we're like having all these kind of stories um of playing hockey and having and seeing all these players. Like I played with so many players like Dog, Dwayne Newman, and so many different players, especially some enforcers, some not enforcers, and just so I kind of had this idea, and then Frankie obviously wasn't in the industry, but I spoke to him about it because we were mates, and then he went. Frankie was trying to be a writer, and then like a week later, he sent me a script for a few pages, and I was like, oh fucking hell! When someone asks you to read their script, you go, fuck yeah, here we fucking go. And so I turned the page, and I was like, oh yeah, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, and I was started reading it. I was like, fucking hell, this. And he turned in like 10 pages, and I thought this is fucking pretty good. And so we started chatting ideas, and I'm not the best writer. I'm not a good writer. I direct, but like. I need to work with writers, and my whole thing was like I didn't want to write this with someone that didn't play hockey, and because no
It
one
would have
really
been
knows
it would have
what.
been a dud, man.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? No one knows what it's. They need to
No.
know how a hockey room smells. Do you know what I mean? And all
And
those bus
and
journeys and all that.
and I'll echo what you just said then. And this isn't to disrespect you fans, but you ain't got a fucking Scooby, some of you. Like when you're talking on the forums and you're talking on the pages and you're all over the social media, there's a reason that he didn't get the geezer from fucking ITV's hottest new drama series to write this because he wouldn't have a fucking clue. Like it's that simple. They wouldn't have a clue. It's not real life to them. What you end up with is like some fucking Maiden in Manhattan on ice, and it's not what it is. Like it's real, it's raw, and we've played with these guys, and we've played with guys that have suffered concussion issues, and we've played with guys that have had addiction issues, and they might be the same person, they might be multiple different people. Unless you've been in and amongst it and rode the buses and sat in the changing rooms on a Thursday night. And that's another thing that I love, the fact that you boys like really, he was like, yeah, well, when he moves to the new team, and you're like, yeah, 10:45 practice. Everyone's like, what the fuck? I'm like, no, yeah, yeah. Welcome to the fucking EPL, baby. Like, yeah, yeah, then welcome to the fucking EPL. And then I'm like, oh, that guy didn't play so great on Saturday. No shit, because he did a 60-hour week. And then after a 60-hour week, 3 of the nights, he drove to fucking Slough from his home the other side of London and went to practice at fucking 10:40 and got home at 3 a.m. and had to have 7 beers to unwind so you can actually go to sleep for the 2 hours you're going to go to sleep. There's a lot of stuff in like, especially semi-pro level. The fans have no idea what these guys are giving up. They're guys from Solway. Dumfries are in the
Yeah,
league, in the National League. Let me tell you, you guys have no idea what those boys are giving up on a fucking daily basis. Family life, time with their kids, um, just a regular, like regular day to day, getting up, go to work. Oh yeah, you do all that, but by the way, you got a Brucey bonus trip down to Bristol and Romford this weekend. I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay.
Good luck. Good
Get
luck. Yeah,
getting back into Dumfries at 4 a.m. in the morning
yeah.
and
But
been on site at 7 a.m. Like it's real fucking life.
yeah,
This is
with a
happening.
fucking
Like
concussion.
yeah, with
Yeah,
a conky, yeah. Conky or a
yeah. I
broken
mean, that's
finger or a broken nose or
but
whatever it is.
exactly. But like you say, though, you just said the E&L and the semi-pro leagues. That's why we focused it on that. Well, one, that's because the leagues me and Frank played in, but that's where the interesting things are. That's where the stories are. But that's why we kind of focused it on that and that transition from him going from a professional league because uh, going from a pro league to obviously to the semi-pro league. That's where I see a lot of or we both. That's where me and Frank saw a lot of the conflict and also the interesting stories. Seeing ex NHL drafts, like working on building sites. Do you know what I mean? Things like that, and having those long road trips. They're the interesting things that I've seen that I think people want to see. But yeah, going back to your question, what when we sort of had this script and we wrote a feature script, Frankie put this feature script together. We took it to like financiers and distributors and all these people, and we just kept getting doors just shut in our face, and people saying, "A fucking British hockey film? No way, we don't want to watch that." And we were like, "Nah," we try and explain to them that it's not going to be
Dude,
what it's about. It's
motherfuckers
about
watch
these people.
Slapshot 3. Like, if
Yeah,
people are gonna watch that shit, they will literally definitely watch a movie that is. Do you know what? Like, just with some major marketing money behind you, boys, this thing would fucking go like wildfire. Because, and especially within those that have played the game. Maybe not so much. And I don't. I'm not expecting this movie to hit home to as much with fans. And it will to a
mm,
certain extent, but like we've all touched on so far in this podcast, you ain't rode the buses, you ain't seen the demons, you haven't seen the fear and anxiety that goes through your enforcer before a game, right? This is
mm,
real shit. Like you might get your head smashed in front of 8,000 people. That is not a fucking that is not an easy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday sleep when you're going into a Saturday game at the NIC and it's Sheffield Nottingham and you have to fight Dennis Vial. Like
yeah, exactly.
what?
Yeah, I mean, it's good.
Like
It's good for
the,
fans to see that other side of the curtain in that sense. You know what I mean? We wanted
it's
to be there to see all
scary,
the stuff.
man. And,
Mm,
and it's something we've always tried to do on this podcast. I've always been honest. I'm sure we'll get onto my addictions and my shortcomings and everything else a little bit later on. But the fear, and by the way, even if it's a man you know you can beat, even if it's a man you know that you're going to beat 9 times out of 10, he still might knock you out on that 10th time in front of fucking 8,000 people. And especially in this day and age, do you want to be a meme for the rest of your life? You want to be a GIF for the rest of your life? Do you want
mm.
a fucking 3-second video you getting your head absolutely fucking demolished off your shoulders to be out on the internet the rest of your life? These are the thoughts that are going through these players' heads. And something else you guys done brilliantly. And it to the layman, it might just go straight by them. You pay your fucking $10 to come in.
Mm.
That don't give you fucking any right whatsoever, by the way.
No,
It gives you no. Sorry, Frankie, go on, boy.
no, sorry. I was going to say one of the biggest things, obviously, talking like about fans and things like that. So, sort of briefly mentioned earlier that my biggest ban I ever got was an 18-month ban when I was playing for Raiders. And the biggest thing that was a real eye opener for me was obviously I was a young goalie at the time, done what I'd done, but there's reasons behind the fight. There's reasons behind why I got banned. But it was the fans who I was. So do you remember? Like, I don't know if it's still going, but the hockey forum. So I remember when I was probably about 22 when I got this ban, 23, something like that, and I had so many pages on my thread of slagging me off from like fans from like Nottingham and Scotland and like not even teams in my league saying that I'm a scumbag, I've never deserved to play again. I'm sitting there like as a 21, 22-year-old kid, basically, being completely ruined by fans who don't know me, never see me play, don't actually know the ins and outs of what actually happened. And you're sitting there and think, like, how on earth can I give my heart and soul every single week to my fans turned on me. Everyone turned on me because the fight ended up getting us we end up losing a few players because of the fight. And then we got kicked out of the playoffs. So we was out of the playoffs because of it. So my own fans turned to me. My team like dropped me straight away. And I was sitting thinking, this is when I was in the worst place in my entire career. Because I was sitting there at work, reading the thread of fans slagging me off, got dropped by my hockey team. The team was supposed to support me, the team I've been playing with since I was a kid. Like even some people in the changing room I end up having arguments with because of it. You sit there thinking like hockey's a hobby to everybody, and it's things happen, fights happen, tempers flare. But why is it so quick to destroy someone's personality over saying what happens on the ice? And they don't know you. They don't know you at all. And that's the biggest thing for me. I
Yeah.
want fans to understand that us players, we do have a job the next day. We
Yeah.
fight, we argue, we still get up and go to work the next day. We still have lives, we still have misses, we still have mums and dads we've got to look at being slagged off. Still, we've got kids we've got to look after. Do you know what I mean? It's a hard sport, and there's so two sides of the sport.
And I think you boys did that very well in the movie when, he's going through his hard times and he's going through the tough times. And we've all done it to our missuses over the years. Yeah, just one more fucking year, just one more tilt, just one more fucking scrap, just whatever, fuck it, it'll be all right. I'll figure it out tomorrow. Don't worry, the fucking check's in the post or whatever. And the fans don't see any of that shit. They don't see the Monday to Friday. What you see is the Saturday and Sunday. And do you know what? There ain't many bad guys that I've ever met. So your kid asks for an autograph, the guy's gonna stop and sign it. You got a fucking shirt to sign, the guy's gonna do it. You got a fucking hen do, the guy's gonna get in the middle and put a fucking funny pose. All of that shit, yeah. So they got to be switched on, yeah, in terms of entertaining the fans, entertaining whatever it may be. And all to we ain't Premier League footballers, boys. We ain't getting fucking we got a pot pissing. Like we genuinely don't have a pot of pissing with it in the grand scheme of things. When you boys put that out there the way you did, I thought it was very well done. And I think when they talk about that and excuse me, you don't see what goes on with family. You don't see what goes on in girlfriends. I mean, I think I've told you a story on the podcast before. But I went through depression when I was in Swindon, and I told Steve, no, I'm leaving. I'm going to go back to Basingstoke, and everyone's like, Basingstoke giving Watty a fucking pay rise. He's going to leave Swindon to go to Basingstoke to get. I took a fucking pay cut to come home. No, I took a pay cut, and it was bad enough that I took a pay cut to come home. But as I told Steve now, he offered me 200 quid a week extra on top of my wages. So the pay cut, it went from being like 50, 75 quid a week to about fucking 300 quid a week pay cut. Really? Because if I stayed in Swindon, he was going to give me X, and X would have been a fucking damn sight more than I was on in Basingstoke. And again, we're not talking life-changing money. We're talking fucking stacking shelves in Tesco, Domino's Pizza, delivery driver kind of money now, in this day and age, for you fans to understand. We're not talking huge money. Like I'm still gonna have to get my ass up and go to work on Monday. But it would have fucking cushioned the blow a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't. It's because I was depressed. And it was because of the shit that was going on at home and all the other fucking nonsense that you don't see because we don't show that. Because when you walk up to me and you say, "Can my kid have a picture?" I'm like, well, I might be hating my life. Like that 3 months in Swindon before I left Basingstoke, Suey watch, man. Like straight Suey watch. Like bad place mentally. But you just turn up and you fuck it up. I'm not gonna play any different. I don't know how to play any different. Like I don't know how to not give 100%. I don't know how to try and not win every face off. I don't know how to fucking smoke a D-man through the end boards and put him in the car park. I don't know how to not snipe. It wasn't that. It was the thought of going to the rink every day. And this is probably when the start of my mental health issues really started. And that's probably ties in with the movie and then where I was at. But I was probably, I don't know, 6, 7 years into my career by then, 60 fights down. A lot of head trauma, man. There's a lot of head trauma on top of, ADHD and everything else I've got on top of that. I didn't really understand, and I never really before then, and like especially now, you can talk about it. If you talked about mental health in the fucking change room 15 years ago, you were fucking finished. Like done. Was it a thing? Mental health didn't exist. Barely existed in my career. I finished in 2014. Maybe, just maybe, mental health crept in 2012, 13. But like it was almost like flirting with it. Whereas now, like, it's a common practice. We've had many people on this podcast, big animals, scary fucking human beings that you would not want to meet in a dark alley, come on and bare their soul. And I think that does help because it lets you know that we're not all just mutants, man. No, we're not all just this thing that you put on the ice and we have no feelings and I'd conditioned myself to think that I was that and to think that that's what I needed to be. I need to be a robot. I need to be this. I need to do this for my teammates. Now, 12 years, 10 to 12 years removed from it, and you start looking back, you're like, shit, man, I was in a bad place. Like, I was in a fucking bad place. But you don't realize how bad that place is because it's an echo chamber. You keep doing it and doing it. Obviously, Richard, you've helped me out with a great price of my life insurance. What are the reasons people do take out life insurance?
Generally speaking, mate, it's to cover a mortgage or, family, loved ones. You don't necessarily have to have children to have it. The other thing is, funeral costs. The average funeral in the UK at the moment is £8,000 and that's likely to increase over time as everything does. Yeah,
a friend of mine's dad's funeral just cost them £14,000. Obviously, everyone's different. Everyone takes out life insurance. They have different situations. I have a pretty normal situation. What happens to those that are in less of a normal situation?
So we use all sorts of insurers. So there's normally someone that fits your needs, whether you're like a motorcyclist, whether you have health conditions, your smoking status, your BMI, they all affect, how insurable you are. Obviously, we find you the best on the market. And for the older, there is the over 50s product, which doesn't have any medical underwriting.
We're creeping our way towards that right now. Obviously, I'm now a parent. How's it you? What about like critical illness cover for children, stuff like that? Do you offer anything like that?
Yeah, so obviously kids, I've got a couple. Peace of mind is very important. We do offer critical illness cover as a tack-on with most of our providers. For a small amount, they can be covered to 22 against any really serious illnesses.
Sorry, Frankie, go on, love.
you think the thing I'm just on touching on what you're saying, like it's an echo chamber. You just think that you have to keep going through it because if you don't keep playing and you don't keep showing up, you're going to be 10 times worse. So in like for me, for example, when I was playing, like I mean, I'm not sure if I've got it or if I haven't got CTE, but I've got a lot of signs, and I was a lot worse about sort of before we wrote this and sort of really diving into it, and before I understood anything, I was a lot worse. I bad anger issues. I used to flip quite a lot. I used to drink and get behind the wheel, and it's just the worst thing to do, and no one ever do it. But I just used to sort of not really care about what I did because of what was going on in my head. And like you say, you keep turning up because you think if you don't turn up, you're going to be 10 times worse, and you think that's what's holding you together. But it's not the hockey what's holding you together. It's having to it's the understanding of what's going into your head. Once you start understanding that, then you can turn up to hockey and you'll probably play better at hockey. You can turn up to work and you'll probably be better at work. You can turn up at home and you'll be a better husband, father, son, anything what you are. It's as you said, when mental health started creeping in, you say sort of around 2012, 2013 time, I was playing at that point, and I remember it was spoke about, but everyone in the change room was like, "Oh, that's fucking stupid. That's gay. No, I ain't talking about. I ain't doing that. No, I ain't." Like it
What
was
you
spoke
just
about.
said right there, by the way, and that's gay.
Literally, that's what was said.
Literally, and the world we live in now is completely different, 2025, right? And it was never ever, and let's get this right, it was never a slant on gay people, ever. Ever.
No,
Because I don't want to sound like that guy that goes, yeah, I got a black mate, I ain't racist. But we all had gay mates. It was nothing to do with being gay, but it was a term that we grew up with in school in the UK. Oh, you didn't do that right. Oh, that's gay. That's gay. Yeah, that's gay. It was fuck all to do with being gay,
it was
actually.
like
Nothing,
it was like
it was a throwaway comment.
it's like when you was in school, you just go your mum. You never actually meant
Yeah, your
someone's
mum.
mum. It was just you
No,
just
you
used to
didn't. No.
because it was just how you said it. But that's what I mean. That's the type of wording what you used to use. Like go, oh no, just man up. Like you nothing wrong with you, man. I like we were talking about concussions earlier. I got knocked spark out when I first started playing. I was only 8. I was a kid, and we was doing cross ice. So like you receive the puck and you both skate cross ice drill. And I was 8. I was training up with the under 12s. I went into somebody. My head hit their shoulder, knocked spark out on the ice. I went into the got pulled off into the changing room. Woke back up again. I was back on the ice 5 minutes later because you didn't understand that sort of feeling of well, you've got to rest now. You've got to have a week off. You've got to do a concussion test. And obviously, you boys have had a lot worse hits than I have being out as a player. And you just and all that results in the mental health issues because I remember playing with JJ McGrath when he got a real bad concussion in his last season.
Fucking hell,
Um,
JJ.
yeah, brilliant. He took a bad hit and he'd already had a few concussions. And I remember we was short benched anyway, and he had to sit on the bench yawning because his concussion was I mean we're talking like 2-3 months worth of concussion. He just couldn't get over it, and that was his last season. I just remember sitting there thinking back at it now, thinking how on earth was he allowed to still play? Like, but it was just like, come on, Jay, get on the bench, mate. We need you this weekend. And it's like looking back at now, I just wish I could just say this. It ain't right. It ain't right because you don't know what's going on or what the long term effects are. And it's just I just want to be able to fans to see it as well. Fans to understand that this isn't this is a sport, but it's a hobby. It's a hobby for us, and we do it for the love of the game. And we get injured, but we carry on playing because we just love the game. But it's such a hard way. It's the hardest sport in the world to play by far.
By the way, ladies and gents, I'm about to pull these figures right out of my hoop. I might be lying, but it might also be a fucking very close, educated guess, yeah. The top player in NIHL 2 is making fucking £25 a week. The top player in NIHL 1, unless your name Bartlett, is probably fucking 200, 250 quid a week, right? Max. Max. At the fucking very max. Talking a day's wage, yeah? He's got to give up one, maybe 2 nights in a week, and then 2 nights, maybe one night if your schedule's friendly on the weekend. And then let's pump it up a level. Top boy in that league in the national, 750, 800 quid a week. And now you're expected to do 2 practices a week, mandatory. A third one, which is called optional, but it's not fucking optional. We all know that as players, it ain't fucking optional. Like, all of a sudden you start missing the optional Friday, everyone's like, where the fuck have you been? So it's optional, but it's not optional. And then your Saturday and your Sunday, and your Sunday might be so away. So you leave the house and the kids and the missus at fucking 8 a.m. and you get back at 3 a.m. next day. You do the maths on them fucking hours, and then you do the hourly rate, and you start adding all that shit together. Hey, sure, 750 sounds fucking great in your bank account every week, 3 grand a month. Sounds lovely, right? Sounds lovely. But what you're not considering is all these physical impacts, all these mental impacts, all these other things that we have going on day to day, and your wife and your kid and your dog and your fucking grand's ill, and your dad's having a heart attack and fucking all these other things that go on. 750 quid a week's fucking peanuts, man. Like, it's chump change. And by the way, that's a selected few studs. The majority of these boys still in the National League. If they're making between 200 and 400 quid a week, they're doing nice. They're doing nice. They're doing nice. If you're on 400 sheets a week, you make 1,600 quid a month playing in the National League. It's nice. Let me ask you, at your job, if your gaffer turned around and went, you're going to do fucking 15 hours this Sunday and we're going to pay you £4.25, you tell him to go fuck himself. But this is what these boys are doing. And then they're playing with broken hands. They're playing with broken shoulders. They're playing with concussions. And something Frankie just said then, it wasn't really until like 2011, 2012, when I was in my second season in Bracknell. I got concussed one night on an away game, yeah? And back then, we didn't show weakness, yeah? You concussed, you fucking played. And again, we didn't know what we know about concussion now, then. But it was almost like a concussion was almost treated like a headache. You got a bit of a sore head on you, have you? All right, well, see how you are tomorrow. It wasn't
Just a bit of water in it.
a bit of water, a bit of smelling salts, off you go. And I remember I came into Bracknell one night. And we were in a playoff push against Romford, funny enough. We're battling for that 8th spot. Fucking huge game. And bearing in mind, I'm their first line centre, assistant captain. I think I had 65 points that year, so one of the top Brits in the entire league. So I've got this internal pressure on myself, not coming from anywhere else. The internal pressure is coming from me. The pressure is coming from me to be there for my teammates, to deliver not only offensively to help us win the game, but also as the tough guy. I hate that as well. But to be there for that spark, to be able to have a fight and to be able to get the boys going. All of these things, yeah. Our physio, Sharon, and I remember, shout out Sharon Davis, you fucking legend. She told me before I even started putting my kit on, she's like, there's no fucking way you're playing today. And at that point, it is what it is, but these are fucking volunteers. They're volunteers. I'm like, listen, bitch. And didn't say that, but like in my brain, listen, bitch, you just fucking stay there and run my quads and do everything. Because again, we're this naive bunch of fucking Neanderthals, apparently, with not much going on. She's like, you're not playing. I'm like, I'm playing. 100% I'm playing. And she goes, all right. And she knew because she'd been studying concussion and she knew what was going to happen. She went, all right. Yeah? You fucking adamant, are you? Yeah? Put your fucking kit on. Go for a skate. I remember, do you know when you come out the 2 hot steps out the fucking door for a warm up? And I took 2 hot steps out on the ice and everything just went. And I remember I tried to skate behind the goal and come back up to get her like a second lap. And she's going, fuck off the ice.
Yeah.
And I remember that was the first time in my senior career. Bearing in mind at this point, they're fucking 10 years into my career here. And she went, how do you feel? I was like, I can't see. She's going, go take your fucking kit off then. And I was like, whoa. And that was the first time that I really understood what a fucking proper concussion was. And I'd had many, but it was that quick smelling salts, quick man up juice, get the man up juice. And it wasn't until I took that hot lap, and I remember her, she stood there at the fucking side of the door. She was waiting for me, by the way. Like, she already knew what was going to happen, but I wasn't listening to her because I was a smug dickhead. She stood at the fucking penalty box door in Bracknell and she ushered me off the ice. And she went, told you. And I went, that
Yeah.
was the first time that I really went, wow. Like
One
that
of
is,
the things about that, yeah, is like there is what's so important about it is like a lot of the research now suggests that it's not necessarily the impact of the concussion, it's when you have the next one,
second and
and
third
that's what
one,
they've
isn't it?
shown. Yeah, and it's like if your brain's not fully if your brain's not fully recovered from that concussion, and then you get another one, and it doesn't have to be a big one. That's the problem. So I think one of the big things
That's
where
why Sid the Kid had like all that time off because he had one and he had
yeah.
two. And like you're talking about at that moment in time, the most valuable product in
Mm.
ice hockey. Like not NHL, not KHL, in ice hockey. Sidney Crosby was the most valuable product in ice hockey. And he had that boom boom that you talk about, James. Scary, mate.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you
How,
try and
how
like
long did he have off? How long did he have off? 8 months?
2 years, I think, wasn't it?
Was it longer? Yeah,
Yeah,
2 years. Like it
I think
was
so. Yeah, yeah,
that'd
yeah.
be the
It's
equivalent of
it's mad.
having like fucking Michael Jordan sitting on the fucking sidelines for 2 years in his prime. But guess what? He's gonna better pick his fucking kid up in 10 years' time and go out and play pond hockey and do all that other shit. That some of these other
Mm.
guys, Rick Rippon, Wade Beer, Derek Bugard, other boys that they don't have that fucking privilege. And
Yeah,
I'm kind of glad I'm out when I was because I'm stupid as fuck. Like in terms of like even now knowing everything I know, I think Gary Scott he put a comment, shared the video of you boys yesterday, the movie, shared the enforcement on there. Gary must be new to 4,000 counting, bless him. But he's like, so do you think fighting should still be part of hockey? I'm like, well,
yeah.
I think everybody knows my answer to that. Yeah, I do. I really do. And we talked off air. Fucking 90 fights on the ice. Never, maybe one. I did say Mr. Jake French smashed me up real good. I don't know if it
Did
gave
he
me a
not look at
conky,
the? Did
but
he not look at the logo? The
yeah,
guy,
I was like,
that's a guy. Logo,
was the
like,
blood coming off of the fists? Not like, not a clue. But obviously, I do then come on and talk about these poignant topics, and difficult topics to talk about, so to speak. But yeah, fighting is always going to be a part of the game for me. But I had 90 odd, and I maybe had one conky from that. What we have to eliminate in this game, and you boys have played long enough, is hits to the head. And to me, I grew up watching Scott Stevens, man. If you cut across the middle, I am going to try and put your jaw in a car park. And, but again, I sound like a Neanderthal and a thug and all that. I don't give a shit because back then we didn't know what we know now. And we do know now. But removing fighting from the game? No, because guess what comes back into the game? You remove fighting. Hits to the head, hits from behind, high sticks. Because I don't know, chuck me in any league right now. I'll kill anybody. Like I'm 17 stone. Like I'm 3.5 stone heavier than I ever was when I was killing guys at 13.5 stone. Like I will do a number on you. Like I will do a number on you, but it will not be the same as you cutting across the blue line with your head up your ass and someone catching you in the chest on the button. On the button's worse, but the worst concussions I ever come from were all from being hit here, and you go, and your head snaps back. And you boys talked off air about it. We spoke to Dan Carcillo. When you get your head rattled like that, I can't explain to you people that have never had that happen to you in your fucking life what that's like.
Mm.
You're
White
in a
lights,
dream.
white
The
lights.
white lights,
Yeah,
the fucking world
yeah,
stops spinning. The only thing that's
yeah,
spinning is your head, and your only concern in that moment, because you're a team fucking guy, because you've been taught to be a team guy your whole life, is get back to the bench and not leaving your boy short. Which is wild,
yeah,
really, when you think about it. Like now that we're all done
yeah.
and said and done, and we're sitting on this side of the game, all you're thinking about then is like, shit, it's 5-on-4 going back to our like if you got rocked in the ozone, if you got rocked in the ozone, you're now thinking, fuck, they're on a 5-on-4 while you're still trying to figure out where your stick is and where your gloves are and where your head is and where the bench is and why is that bench so far away and why does that bench keep moving and all these other things. And I said to you boys again off air, the worst one for me, my worst concussion, I turned to cycle the puck and I turned like this. And I just skated into Brent Goff's chest. Like, I don't think Goffer threw a whole hit in his entire EPL career. But he was 17 stone. And if you bang your head into his chest at full speed, that is going to be a severe concussion. And it was like, and we've seen like guys like Liam Stewart. Everyone's like, oh, we can't cut in the Elite League anymore. No, you can't afford to get any fucking concussions anymore. He could still play in the Elite League right now. But the guy values his brain health more than he values fucking 450 quid a week. Like, what we talking about here? Like, it's at some point there has to be here. Let's look at it a different way. I'm gonna say at some point there has to be some accountability, but UK hockey have never ever, to my knowledge, taken accountability to CTE. They've never taken accountability to concussion. They've never taken accountability to the trauma that happens to their athletes, and it's very easy to just let it go by. But it's very real because I've had people on here, ex-players, ex-pros, physios, fucking people in way better position than me with understanding, knowledge, etc. Come on and talk about it. It's a real thing. Like the guys suffer. And I've seen guys that I've known for my whole fucking life, my whole ice hockey life. I'll give you Norman Pinnerton, for example. I know Norm must be struggling right now. I can tell by Norm's Facebook posts. They're not good, man. And Norm's a good friend of mine. And then maybe I'll edit this out of the podcast. Maybe I won't. I'll talk to Normski first. But there's some shit going on there, and you can't have 300 fights on the ice and be in ice wars and ice gladiators and every sort of fucking hit TV show that they did in the 90s and the early 2000s, where it involves you having massive collisions
There's a
and it
price to
not
be
have an
paid, isn't
impact on your life, like man. Like,
there?
but we didn't know then, and I think we know now. So, what would be right? So, obviously, you boys made the movie to spread awareness. What was what was like the driving force behind the movie? Obviously, you wanted to kind of relay this.
Yeah, I know
How
what
do
you're
you
saying. I know what
explain
you're
it?
saying, Nick.
You know what
I
I
think
mean? Like,
yeah, because like the thing is like we did have this conversation and we said like this ain't the NHL. We can't have departments players' safety basically like looking at this and you, at the end of the day, there's films for like the players like me, like us, like that have played, and it's for a wider audience as well. But like you got to look after yourself out there, and I think my what I've seen in my like 15 years is a repetitive same story of a guy that's, a lot of them ex NHL drafts, something like that, and they come through this, they're in the elite league, then they go into they have a year in the ENL, and then they're working part-time jobs, and then they're alcoholics, drug addicts, and then a lot of like the biggest thing as well, it's like it's only you that's going to be able to see those signs. We can't when in a semi-professional league, we can't have well, it'd be nice to, but you can't have the accountability of being on. So if anyone watches the film, especially the feature when we do it this year and it goes to a wider audience, if anyone watches it and sees certain signs and it raises awareness of CTE and they can it could be a damage limitation, prevention and limitation. And I think that, you know, I've seen so many players come through that have fallen into that. And one of the biggest like themes that we've got in the feature is a lot of times things start happening to you, like things like addiction, things like bad thoughts, depression, but also smaller things like bad judgment control, bad memory, bad impulse control, all these things. And a lot of times these players have young families, wives, kids, and stuff, and they start acting certain ways, and people look at them and go, "He's a fucking drug addict. He's a fucking party animal." Like and a lot of times they're sick. These guys are sick. These guys, and they don't because it's not a physical. They're in their 30s or 40s. It's not. They haven't got a physical wound on them. The injuries in the brain, and so many times, like there's been a lot of wives that have said he started acting this way. Wade Belak and I can't remember the
Yeah.
other one whose wife said, yeah, basically said like he started acting certain ways, and Todd, I can't remember his name was Todd Ewan or something like that. But when he died, they were because CTE can only be diagnosed post mortem, looking into the brain physically. Right
I
now,
find
they
that
are developing.
wild, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, isn't it crazy? And then I think that they went, and a lot of time with these wives of these players, they want closure. They want to know that he wasn't a bad dad, or he wasn't a bad husband, and he wasn't that he was struggling, and he was sick, and he was injured. Do you know what I mean? And I think the main thing about this disease is you can't see it, and it comes very sneaks in and it finds its way in, and I think that's a big thing that we wanted to portray in it. But yeah,
Well, I'd urge anybody that's not already go watch the trials of Aaron Hernandez. He was an NFL guy. He's fucking collegiate stud. He's getting there. He signs his big ticket after a few short years in the NFL. When he went crazy, he did some mad illegal shit like he did, and I'm not justifying that in any shape, way, or form. Look at his fucking brain scan when he died, man. His head was like mashed potato, and the dark matter that showed on his brain, and I don't know what people know, like is eats away at the protein in your brain, right? Okay. So what you get left with is called dark matter. And I know this because I had a stroke, a TIA, probably 8 years ago now. And it was the first time that I'd had since I was done, a legit brain scan. And they said, you have dark matter on your brain. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And they showed me this, they showed me this CT scan of my brain. And there is legitimate, I can remember it. It's like right here. There should be brain there, and there's not.
Very.
Like, why are we not getting guys medicals pre and post season? Because they cost fucking money, that's why. But if we give a shit about our product, because guess what? As much as we love you fans and you put your fucking money on the table and you buy 50/50s and you buy shirt off the back and all that, as players, we see fucking damn sight near nothing of that, right? So someone's
yeah,
making some money
well,
somewhere. Someone's making some money somewhere, and when does it stop being about making money? And Nick Rufford talks about this. Ice hockey in this country where we're so low level, it should pretty much be charity vibes. Like, don't get me wrong, pay the bills, pay the arenas, make sure the staff have got money, pay the physios, pay the players, make sure everyone's got sticks, make sure everyone's got equipment, and do all that. But no owner in British hockey should be walking away making cake at the end of the season. If you are, but at the same time, three of your guys are mentally worse off because of concussions, because of potential CTE symptoms, and all these other things, then we really need to be like readjusting what we do here because we're in UK hockey. No one's getting rich. We're very aware of that. You want to get rich? Go play in Switzerland. Go play in the NHL. Go play in the KHL. Go play in Sweden. You'll make some good money. You'll do very well for yourself. Like go follow Liam Kirk's path. You know, go out and play in the Czech Extraliga, the Finnish Extraliga. Now in Berlin, go play in the DL. You are, and you're going to get looked after as well. What we found in this country, my boy Pisey was probably one of the biggest kind of ones that got away, so to speak. He went through some fucking trauma. Not only in his trying to make the NHL in the AHL days, but when he came over to the UK was tough. Like the UK Elite League in the early 2000s, right the way through to maybe 2014, 15. There was some bad motherfuckers playing that league. There was some Neanderthals playing that league, and there were some big tough boys. You might have to fight 30 times a season in a 56 game season. That's a hell of a lot of trauma to the head. And you know what? As you boys know as well as I do, the minute you play that last game, your paycheck's finished. You're done. Bye. See you in September. It's a 7 month a year contract. Like they don't get me wrong, you get injured during the season, you break a fucking collarbone, you do an ACL. They're gonna look after you, they're gonna send you to the physio, they're gonna send you to the doctor. But when your brain's getting impacted like that,
Mm.
where's the big picture? Like where does it
Yeah.
go?
And
And
that's the thing. Yeah, so many players. Like the thing is what's interesting is like I was saying this to Frank before, but like there you have this kind of self obsession like thing when you're playing that the game doesn't exist without you. And I think a lot of times, do you know what I mean? You feel
yeah,
like that as soon as you're not there, it's over. But when you find out that when you do finish playing or you stick, whether it's through choice or not, you realize that the game goes on without you. The same fans are watching, and someone's wearing your shirt. And I think what do you do for a lot of the for this character in this film? It's like a lot of times these players that have spent their whole life being on a stage, protecting their teammates. They've had the regimented regime of trainings. They've had their paycheck every week, and they've not been. A lot of them aren't educated. A lot of them don't have any other trades. And what do they do when the one of the main themes of the film is about identity, and it's like how much like we're all hockey players, and how much of your identity is hockey, and it's a big thing. And for this character in this film, it's like it's a big thing about how much does he give up for the game? It's his whole identity, it's his whole purpose, and it's what he is, and it's all he's ever known. But it's killing him, and a big thing is like what happens after, because a lot of time the game carries on, and then you read about these players. Like I can't remember one of the what was his name? I can't remember, but there was this NHL Cup winner that was living on the streets with CTE.
oh yes,
Murphy, Murphy.
yeah, Murphy, yeah, you're right.
Murphy, yeah, and it's just and
Great
not and
documentary on YouTube about him, by the way, folks. If you've
yeah,
not seen it, yeah.
and it's just not that no one cares. It's just life goes on, and these players, a lot of these players that I've played with or against, they put everyone else first. They're enforcers, or they're protectors, their teammates. And they will play no matter what. Like you said, you'll play with any injury and everything else. But what happens when it all goes away and I've got nothing to? We compared it to like when we're trying to explain this film and this role and everything else to outsiders when we're trying to get finance and stuff. It's like we explain it as like soldiers when they've come back from war and
Mm.
they have this PTSD because they don't know, they've got no structure, no, like, hang on, my whole life has been this. No, I can't do it anymore. What do I do?
Since 16,
And people
18, you've
don't
been
think
regimented. You fold your fucking sheets like this, and you put your boots like that, and you pack your
exactly.
backpack like that, and you eat lunch when we tell you to eat lunch, and you shit when we tell you to shit, and you go to the gym, and then you go to war, and then you come back, and it's like on yourself, son.
That's it.
Off you go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it is, and it's something UK hockey, and I know that anybody that's on the nay side of this is gonna come on and bitch us out or whatever, but it is a financial issue. Like it literally is. But if you got finances to do certain things, you definitely got. I think I said to you boys before, I've been out of this game for 12 years, 10, 12 years now as a player. Been involved in other ways, but out as a player. And we look at the EPL top 5 fights and in careers, like the volume of fights. Myself, Pisey, Grant McPherson, Muzzy Wales. Not one of us fuckers ever had a phone call, like, or ever had a checkup, or they never had the decency to be like, like you did all this. Can you maybe come in and get this checked? Can you get this checked? Can you go and speak to a specialist about this? Nothing. Not a single iota, not a single phone call. Realistically, and this isn't me saying this should happen. Don't get your knickers in a twist. But like, if all the players clubbed together and did a club action lawsuit the way that's going on against the UFC right now, Ice Hockey UK, the IHA would be fucked overnight. Because I know from many, many, many people, even guys like Chris Wiggins, he didn't lose many, but he went through it. And guys that have been through these battles, and we've talked about it on here, Grant McPherson, Michael Wales, Mark Williams, like we could all take you to cleaners right now. But the problem is, none of us want to see the sport suffer. And in order to hold us some accountability, you have to put some money behind it. You have to be threatening to take some money off them because that's the only thing that really anyone cares about, right? If all of a sudden there's this class action lawsuit for all the mental health and all the physical and mental wealth, but even just stupid shit like down to dental. I've still got mouth teeth injuries that happened when I played. I'm having a hip replacement because of when I played. All of these things that are like physical in my body that I can deal with, fine. The mental side of things, there should be some help with. And whether the Ice Hockey UK, EIHA, or EIH, sorry, SIH, whoever it is, the governing bodies, they should, if I was them, I'd be squirreling away a couple of fucking pound notes a week. Because it is going to come on your doorstep one day. And when it comes on your doorstep and goes through, especially in this country, a non-ice hockey country, it comes before a judicial, a jury of your peers. You're fucked. They're going to award the players every single time.
Mm.
They are going to award the players every single time because there's been no structure. There's been nothing in place to limit the damage and the ongoing damage that happens to players. There isn't. And as sad as that may seem, it's quite easy because, this guy steps down and that guy takes the role. And then 18 months later, this lady steps in and she takes the role. So there's never really anyone to be held accountable because they hide behind this big corporation, even though we don't really have big corporations in UK ice hockey. But so to speak, if I could make a phone call right now and have a fucking 12 person lawsuit by tomorrow morning. And this is with like limited thinking, limited time, limited effort, or any of that. With guys that are struggling and feeling the effects of everything that the movie shows, that would literally bring UK hockey to its knees in a fucking heartbeat.
Yeah,
I
I
think.
think for. Sorry, go on,
No,
James.
go, Frank. No, go. You go.
I think for like for us, it's just the understanding of knowing what the issues are and what the signs are. Like, I think you obviously left unchecked, you struggle, and that's obviously what you're talking about now. And all these guys are struggling because of years and years and years left unchecked. I think the best thing for us to get out of this, what we're trying to do, is just to have the awareness around us. So like we had a very good physio at Chelmsford. My last couple of years at Chelmsford, Gemma, she was in the film as well. She used to do concussion tests like before the start of the season, during the season, and things like that. What is just a better awareness, so she can pick up the signs like what your physio before, just picking up the signs. But then even the managers and the coaches and seeing someone's off a little bit, if you see that from the start and you understand that someone's going through something or they're not acting right today or they're a little bit sort of off and their personality is a little bit more strained than usual, it won't be a snowball effect in 5, 10, 15 years' time where you're struggling so much because you'll start understanding it. You'll start learning how to cope with it. You'll start learning how to really, really get into nitty gritty of why you're feeling like that rather than taking it out on everyone else. Like for me, for example, as I said, I mean, I'm in a great place now. A few years ago, I wasn't. Very dark thoughts, very angry, very even sort of pretty much my whole sort of hockey career. It was constant, just I was ready to have a row with absolutely anyone at any point, whether it be on the ice, whether it be on the street, no matter what it was. My thoughts were just dark. I couldn't sit alone not doing things because my mind would just run away from me. Doing this research and learning about it has now made me realize how to cope with it. I've become a little bit more spiritual, which I never thought I'd be, but it's allowed me to sort of sit there and meditate a little bit. I've got routines now, what helped me in the morning. So a big thing for me was mornings was used to be terrible for me because I'd have wake up after bad dreams all night. I'd wake up, I'd not want to do what I was going to do, especially if it was dark out. Now I've got a morning routine, and I think for me especially, but I think for both of us who spoke about it, it's just is everyone around hockey understanding how to see these signs, and the guys who are going through it will never see the signs in themselves because it's such a gradual thing. So you don't understand it until you get too far, and then all of a sudden you look back and go, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you go, this ain't right. Other times you spiral so far you don't even realise who you really are anymore. But it's
Yeah.
the people around. If they can see the signs and help and not even just the money aspects of it, just guy saying, listen, mate, let's just have a chat. What's the matter? What are you thinking? How are you feeling today? That game last week, you didn't seem is everything okay? Little things like that. Or if you're drinking a little bit too much, just see it and just have a chat. Why are you drinking too much? And then just understand it because the worst thing for anyone who plays hockey who gets this illness is you end up taking it out on your family and your home life. And that
You
is the
closest
worst,
ones, right?
100%. And
They're
that
there
it
to hear
is
the fucking rigmarole of all the bullshit that you've been through, and they're not the
100%.
ones that have put you there. Like they're
No.
not.
And they don't understand it either because they don't understand your family don't understand hockey like you do, or your coaches do, or your teammates do. So that's as soon as it starts affecting your home life and your family life, everything else spirals out of control. But if we can sort of show that awareness and contain it within the hockey world, you'll go home and you might want to snap at your missus, but then you also know, no, this isn't me. This isn't actually an issue, and you learn how to deal with things properly. Then soon, if you have a great home life, then you're not going to spiral so much because you're not in that dark place 24/7. You might
Better
be in it
balance, right?
100%, and I think that's my biggest thing I want to get out of this is I want people to see that just because you have CTE, that's not the end of you. That's not the end of your world and your life or anything like that. It's just something you have to do. I'm severely dyslexic, right? And I want to be a writer. It's just something I deal with. You just have to understand how to do some things
Thank fuck for
differently.
autocorrect, right?
Oh, mate, honestly.
Fucking hell, man. You imagine
Your best friend,
you
isn't
imagine having to read one of his scripts. Fucking hell, man.
it?
Jesus Christ.
See, that would do my
Fucking, I'm reading it through
ADHD, and
again.
like I've been trying to read it,
I'm not a
but the
good
thing is,
writer.
my
James just thinks,
ADHD though would probably fucking be right on it because
yeah,
it'd
yeah.
all be jumbled, but in my brain it'd be like, "Hey,
That's
it's all
it.
right. I don't see the
I'm not
problem."
actually I'm not actually a good writer. James just sees it how he wants to see it and goes, oh, that's all right.
Yeah, it's all right. I do. Yeah, fuck it.
But no,
In
but
for a
it's what I
It's
penny, in
funny,
mean.
for
I
a pound.
trying to spell out some of the words. I went, what the fucking if you actually say it out loud, it works.
But do you know what I mean? Like you learn how to try and deal with things differently. And I think that's the biggest thing with CTE. You just learn how to deal with your life differently in certain ways and get your structure and get your routines in place. And I think that's the biggest thing for me to get out of this.
It is a deep question, then, boys. So, do we ever think in, at least in our lifetimes, they're going to be able to do something with CTE before you die? Because as we know, as it stands right now, there isn't really a diagnosis. There's symptoms, there's signs, and there's everything else, but they know next to fuck all about it. Do you think in our lifetime there will be, and by the way, we say our lifetime like it's a long time. Look, this planet's millions of fucking years old. Like, we're here for a cup of coffee and then we're out. In the next 30, 40 years, do we think there's going to be something where they can fully diagnose properly before death CTE, and something they could, obviously we talked about some of the things that you can do. You can get yourself in these more positive positions. You can do things that, I mean, for me, it was microdosing psilocybin. I talked to you boys off air about it. I microdosed. I did the Paul Stamets microdose, which was zero point 0.1 grams of psilocybin, 4 days on, 3 days off. I did it for 6 weeks. I've had ADHD diagnosed since I was 12, which was way back in '98. I don't think I've ever had a mental clarity in my life. No anxiety, no concussion issues, no whatever issues with my brain that was ever going on in my life at any stage. I've never had mental clarity like that. 6 weeks. I did it twice. 6 weeks where I microdosed psilocybin, and I know it can be a frowned upon topic because it got ostracized in the 70s and 80s. It was magic mushrooms and it was fucking hippies and it was all that bullshit. Like, the fucking data is there to show how it repairs neurological pathways. Like, it's not up for fucking debate. It's not up for your Daily Mirror fucking Daily fucking Star bullshit headlines. It
Can
ain't
you
up
tax
for
it?
debate. Can you tax it is the fucking question. And no, you
Yeah,
can't. Because guess what?
no,
They're growing behind a field in the fucking valley over there, and you can go and pick them. And this
yeah,
thing that has been around for millions of years, fungi will outlive us all. Let's have it right. Fungi will outlive us all of us. Long after we're all dead and everybody's nuked each other and fucking everything's gone tits up, mushrooms will survive. They will find a
mm,
way. They will appear. And there's something to be said about that. Like, honestly, boys, and I was saying to you off air, they should be handing these things out like fucking multivitamins. There's no high, there's no low, there's no come down, there's no wrecks, there's no tripping balls like you would if you did a macro dose and a massive dose. It is literally no different from you taking your vitamin C, taking your vitamin D, taking your multivitamin, taking your creatine, taking whatever it is that the supplement it is you take. It's not going to affect you getting behind the wheel of a car. It's not going to affect you looking after your kids. But what you are going to get, I urge everybody, type this exact thing into YouTube, not into YouTube, into Google right now. A brain on psilocybin versus a brain off psilocybin, right? And what I want you to do is a brain scan. It's from this angle, looking down, and there's 4 or 5 pictures in a row of how much of those pathways fire up when you're on psilocybin versus off. And you're talking like 70, and don't quote me on the numbers because I'm not exactly sure, but for a rough estimate, a 70% difference of how much of your brain is activated on this zero point 0.1 grams. That is the equivalent
yeah.
of, that's the equivalent. And
Yeah.
I
See,
never felt
Joe Rogan
better,
had
never felt better.
Joe Rogan had
Sorry.
the guy on that was talking about the theory, the stoned ape hypothesis, where they think that the
Amazing.
doubling, yeah, doubling the brain came from eating the psilocybin off the cow poo in Africa, and it's like, yeah, and there's theories that the spores came from like on asteroids from outside of the solar system and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's fucking medicine, anything that comes out of the ground.
Yeah, and it
Uh,
is. If you look at how we get our medicine, James, yeah, like a lot of it is growing out the fucking ground. Like
mm,
we've seen now with cannabis. Cannabis was one of the most ostracized substances on the planet. We both, all three of us, been lucky enough to talk to someone like Dan Carcillo,
mm,
who is a massive advocate of not only like the cannabis side of treatments, but also the mushroom side of treatments. And he's not just saying that because he's done it and he feels like it. You're talking years and years and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars of research and everything gone into it. There's something to be said about natural remedies, and something that doesn't get talked about enough. We talked about addiction. Fuck, during my whole playing career, man, opioids. Mad addicted to opioids.
yeah.
Mad addicted to tramadols and fucking anything that I could get my hands on that was gonna get me that feeling.
Oh
And
my God,
I
yeah,
was
they're
young.
just thrown
I
around
was
the
young,
playground,
right?
aren't they?
Yeah, and I happened to be go. I was filling something in for a medical thing today. So I went on and I hadn't done this before, but if you go on the NHS app, you can look through your history. And you can also look in the history of medicines, i.e., the medicines they give you. And in the last 10 years, I think I've been to the doctors twice. Like that's like, there isn't nothing. In the 10 years prior, the 10 years prior to that was my hockey career, right? Tramadol, 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 naproxen, tramadol, naproxen, tramadol, 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 naproxen. And I was like, fuck. I knew it was bad, but I didn't realize it was that bad. And you go to the doctor with any excuse. You might not have an injury, but I'm like, oh, doc, I'm like, my shoulder hurts, fucking my knee hurts, and I can't walk to work. You're walking into the fucking doctor's office with a limp. Nothing to do with that shit. You're just addicted to Tramadol. You're addicted to what you now know is one of the most addictive opioids on the fucking planet. And you had no idea because it was just passed around the changing room and you just thought it was normal.
Mm.
Yeah, so
I don't
easy
know
to get
how.
hold of, and
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how it played out at your boys' level, but in the EPL then it was rife, man, like rife. Like if you didn't have any, one of your teammates would, and if they didn't have any, one of your other teammates would, and if they didn't have any, the fucking team you were playing against, someone had 100, someone
yeah,
had a
you had a
hundred,
you had a
someone had 100
couple
trams.
of
Like,
yeah, couple after the game with a couple of beers to really took the edge off. Do you know what I mean? It's
and it
like,
would. I don't get me wrong. I like it was fucking magnificent. Like, it did its job,
yeah,
but there's something deeper going on there than just getting a little post game buzz. Like, and it was so. And this is what I actually said to
yeah,
UK Anti-Doping. UK Anti-Doping, they were trying to get me to like fucking squeal and talk to whoever, reduce sentence and all that. I was like, I'm fucking done. Don't worry about that. I said, what I will say to you guys is, you're worried about steroids and you're worried about this. Right, we play ice hockey. That ain't our game. So if you want to make a fucking real difference, go out there and stop everybody taking opioids because it's a
mm,
joke. And I was like, I'm not going to give you players' names, I'm not going to give you anything. But I was like, if you actually care one iota about player safety, like your whole existence is fair sport, player safety, blah, blah, blah. I was like, look at the opioid crisis that goes wrong in professional sports. They were not fucking interested in the slightest. They would rather get a geezer that come fucking after a 3 day bender and he blows for a little bit of coke and his piss test. They still get they still get their win, right? They still get their win. They still get a chocker fucking win up in the win column. It hasn't helped the sport in any. Like
mm,
you get one guy that's been on a bender and you get him for coke, and as a drug agency, you think you've done a good job because hey, one less fucking guy playing sport that's doing drugs. When actually, it's 15 teammates are the ones that are doing 18 tramadol in 2 days. Like
did
to
they
the
ever do
most
that in
com
the ENL? Because like I swear after like any of it because with blood the doping.
No, mate, no.
Never heard of it.
No.
Back in the
Then
day.
that's the other thing. There's always these threats of, right, you're under this system and you're under UK anti-doping and they're gonna turn up and they're gonna test. No, do they balls, man. Unless like I know why they came after me, and anybody that listens to the podcast knows why they came after me, as well as many others. Um, like they had good reason to suspect. But actually, if you cared about sport, you would care about all the stuff that doesn't get talked about, and that is opioids, diazepam, fucking whatever it may be. And I don't know what it's like now because I'm so far removed from it. I'm not in the locker rooms. I don't know if it's as bad. I don't imagine it is. These kids are rocking up to fucking games with protein shakes and shit now. I don't imagine it is as bad. But the movie highlights what about the fucking generation that came before? What about the veterans? What about the guys that have paved the way? Because I know a lot of guys that struggle. And maybe not now with the addiction side of things, but maybe the post-addiction side of things, because I've been addicted to all sorts of shit in my time. And it's not a shocker to anybody that listens to this. Like, I've been addicted to alcohol, I've been addicted to drugs, I've been addicted to painkillers, I've been addicted to nicotine, I've been sex, fucking pretty much anything you get addicted to, I've been addicted
All
to.
the good stuff.
Yeah, all the good stuff, all the fun stuff. All the fun stuff, yeah. But again,
Yeah.
like how much does the head trauma play an impact in that? And without really knowing what CTE really does while you're playing, or I'd never even fucking heard of CTE until like years after I'd
Yeah.
finished playing, but I'd shown symptoms of it. And it wasn't
Yeah.
until I don't know if I said earlier, I started saying about having a stroke. It wasn't going in and having those CT scans and then physically showing the dark matter on my brain in a fucking picture. I was like, shit, that don't look fucking good. Like, yeah,
Mm.
that's not supposed to be
Yeah.
there. I'm like, oh, okay. But again, there was no one to turn to. Back in my early days, there was a players' association. So when that had happened to me, say 8, 9 years ago, had that been when I was still playing or the player association was still there, I would have made a phone call. But 8 years ago and right through until now, there is none. There is no one to turn to. We're going to ring Ice Hockey UK and say, oh yeah, by the way, I've just had a stroke and I've got some dark matter on my brain. They'd be like, yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
and
That's not our problem.
that sounds like a you problem,
You
lad.
problem.
Like
You problem.
there should be a outlet or an avenue where you can go and discuss these concerns because boys both said it. You leave the game, you have families, you have kids, you have people that depend on you, and yet the support dries up the minute you step out that door.
Mm. Yeah.
What would let's go back to the movie. What would constitute a success for you boys with the movie?
So for me, I think it's obviously eyes on the short, enough eyes on the short to really get sort of like people behind it so we can get the feature done. And then once we can get the feature done, obviously an hour and a half movie, we can really, really showcase our sport and the effects and the good side of the sport as well, right? Because we
Yeah,
don't
of
we
course.
don't really show the good side of the sport in this short because we had to cram so much in such a short time. But we want to show why we think it's the greatest sport in the world. We want one of the things what when me and my missus went up to see James because we live in different areas now, in the summer, and we are just having a chat and a beer, and we was talking, and I said, my knees are gone. I've dislocated my hip when I was playing, so my hip's fucked. Like I'm getting migraines, I get headaches. I've broke my hands, I broke my toes from pucks on the feet and things like that. Oh, but I'd still go back tomorrow. If I could go back tomorrow and play competitively, I'd go back tomorrow. I'd take a puck to the head every 5 minutes. It doesn't bother me. I'll take the big bundles in the crease. Like the
Same
game
as,
is
but we
so
really are stupid, aren't we, lads?
we are stupid. We are.
Give me a fucking, give me. I think I said to you boys off there. Give me a tilt right now, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
so yeah,
give me
I
it.
miss it. I was with, do you know Chico?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, I was with him last week, and my missus said to him, she's like, "Do you miss having a puck, like getting pucks to the head as well, like he does?" And he was like, "So yeah, it's part of the game, isn't it? Like, I love it. I love that fit, and there's a reason why we would choose to go back to the sport every single day of the week because it's the greatest sport in the
Showers.
world.
Oh,
There's
sorry.
nothing, but there's nothing else
Shower
like
time.
it. Yeah,
It is,
yeah.
isn't it? It's bad,
Can't beat the shower and the beer after the game. Can't beat it. But
Yeah.
it's like, do you know what I mean? So it's like, we really want to show why it's such a great sport. We want to get people involved in the sport. We want to get the sport bigger in the UK. We want to get more funding behind the sport because the fans enjoy it more. We want to get better talent come through because kids in school understand about the sport and want to be part of the sport. But we also want to show why why the sport can be dangerous and what we can do to help the sport. And that's the biggest thing for me is I just want to showcase everything what we've got in our sport and why we love it and why we need better protection for players as well. So it can be a bigger sport because if you're a 16-year-old kid and you first step up, especially like in our days, when you first step up to the EPL, and you might be sort of 50-50, you just found drink over the park, you just found birds, and you're sitting there in a change room and you've got an old timer passing around pack of pills to everyone. That might be the reason why you don't want to play no more because you're seeing someone sit in the corner. And we've all played with someone who sat in the corner shaking
Yeah.
because they're so injured and got so many pills in them and so much drink in them just to get through that game. That might be the reason why we don't get players come through. You might see young kids seeing the bad side of hockey and not want to come through, and it just hinders our sport. So let's make our sport a safe sport, an enjoyable sport, and build the sport up to what it could be. We've got so much talent. Like James, for example, you yourself as well. But James, for example, was a great hockey player. I played with Frankie Harvey, was one of the most talented hockey
Yeah,
players
he's a
I've
really
ever
good
met
kid.
seen in my life. Incredible.
Yeah, he's good.
Chongi was another one
Liam's
I've
good as
played
well,
with.
yeah.
And you just think these unbelievably talented players, just we never make it to the next level. As you said, we make a couple of £100 a week, and that's it. My biggest paycheck was £50 a week. That's my biggest paycheck I've ever had in hockey. And I had to pay for my own stick when it broke. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a
Yeah.
difficult sport to play. So let's get eyes on it. Let's build the sport up.
Tell you
Let's
what, while
make
we're
it
talking money,
fun.
Frankie, then,
Yeah.
what do you boys need to make this from a short film into a feature? What would be let's be realistic. I was going to say what would be the fucking dream budget. Then obviously a
100
few million a few million sheets would probably be the answer. But
Depends what you
it
got, Nick.
fine, fuck all that, right?
mil.
But like in the economy that we're in now, if you boys say you got 50 G's, would that be enough to make a real good fucking crack at it? Or would you still think, do you know what? To get, well, we talked off air, you dropped a couple of names in there. I'm not going to put them out on the air right now. But I mean, 50 G's doesn't even cover their flight and their fucking missus shopping spree into London. Like, where does it sit down and what sort of finances would you boys realistically
Yeah.
need to make this thing a fucking huge, on the kind of goon sort of level, or I don't want to use Youngblood Slapshot because they probably made that for fucking 10 bob bit back in the day, but like
Someone made some money. Yeah.
goons probably like the most real closest to our time
Yeah.
kind of movie. But you got Sean William Scott fucking leading the show. Like there's other
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
there's other guys in it, Jay Bakari and all that. That ain't coming for chump change.
Mm.
So if you guys were to
No,
make
I
this
think,
in
yeah.
a feature movie, what sort of fucking dough do you need to make it happen?
I mean, yeah, it's great. Like, obviously, we made the short because what I was saying before is how we went to these financiers, we went to distributors like people like Netflix and people like that, and they sort of go, they look at it as a cost versus reward, risk reward, and they go British hockey films, and they go, well, that's not going to make any money because no one cares about British hockey, and then you go, and then you have to show, look, this isn't, you know. Films like The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke are a
Great
big
movie.
reference because so great, but it's about semi-professionally wrestling in East, in the middle of nowhere in America.
Like fucking
And
Tijuana or some shit. Yeah.
yeah, something like that. And it's like you go like there's so many films that like a lot of times with filmmaking now, it's all about who's in it, how do you make the money and everything else. And I think that, we had to basically we had to say to them that this isn't just for hockey fans and it's not just for hockey play. There's a whole story and characters in there that are going to connect with anyone. Anyone that's ever committed their life to something that's it's not worked out or whatever else, and it's like, and there's so many themes about it related to it that people I think will connect with. So that's why when we kept getting the door shut in our face, we sort of went away and we said we got to show what this is like, and we're going to show how we shot it. So that's why we went away and shot it over a few days with the very short proof of concept to take it back and go, look, I know we would have liked to have more hockey scenes in the short, but we took it back to them and said, look what we can fucking do. And suddenly everyone goes, oh fucking hell, like, and the feedback we've had is been great. Problem is now is like, yeah, it's been really good. Like the problem is now, like, not the problem, sorry. Now we're in a situation where with filmmaking, you need to have like a built-in audience already. So for us,
That
like the
helps.
built-in audience is, yeah. So before you get it made, you need to get like sales figures and everything else that basically show, look, there's this many professional hockey teams in the UK, for example, and they've got this many fans, there's this many players. 80%, I think, would watch it. If it went, do you know what I mean? Would you, like, I would say if,
It
and
went
then,
viral, so to speak.
yeah, but like, for example, we have like a few actors in place already, but the supporting roles, like you mentioned Dino, who is in the
Yeah.
short. So he's my old
Beauty.
coach that I had for years. He used to be my old boss as well when he was a Tyler, and I used to work for him and try and muck up um, his grout and stuff. But he his character is a lot bigger in the feature, and it's a very big coaching character in it. And we're hoping to have, as good as Dino was, we'll put him in something else. But we're going to have like a star actor in that role, which is going to be bring a lot of attention and eyeballs and stuff. Um, so yeah, we've kind of got make sure we're kind of trying to build this, momentum and everything else, so that when we do get it made, which is kind of to answer your question, is like in the millions. So I think the budget's going to be around about 1 million.
Okay.
And there's going to be like a few movie stars, so to speak, British movie stars, but like
Don't put
no, but
fucking Danny Dyer in it for fuck's sake. That prick's in
no, no,
every
none of those.
fucking movie, every British
Nah,
movie. That fucking Cockney twat's in it doing something. You just want to
nah, no. We're
stick
looking
the L on
at we're
him.
looking at people. Yeah, no, no, no. I mean, I'm sure Danny's lovely, but yeah, no, it's very grounded in the kind of reality of good actors. And what I was saying before when we was off the podcast, like I really want to utilize like real players and real teams and real rinks in the UK. So one thing that I guarantee, like even when Frankie, because I was behind the camera, Frankie was trying to put Jonas's kit on, and he because Frankie's a goalie, he's never put leg tape on,
Yeah.
and we was in a rush because the boys are in the change room before the Slough game, and Jib Leone, he's the coach,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. Of
he was
course
like,
it's.
and then I got the whole okay to film in there, but bearing in mind, like I've got Jonas, which is like he's quite a good actor, and I've got a crew in there, but they're getting ready for a big game against Slough, and Jib and the Bartletts are saying to me, mate, we got to get out of here quick because we ain't paid anything. And then Frankie's putting Jonas in the kit and taping his leg pads because he's a good goalie. He's never taped leg pads, and I went, Frank, what the fuck are you
Task
doing? You don't
Force.
tape the
Yeah.
yeah.
Fucking shipping him
Fucking
off on
task force.
DVD right now. Yeah.
Oh my god, poor Jonas is there, and my fucking like our kit stinking. Oh, this fucking stinks, and I'm like, and I
Wait,
got
because by the
I
way,
got a
if you've
fucking
never smelt hockey gloves before, if that's not your neck of the woods, like us lot, like I could
Fucking
go to
love it.
bed with I could go to bed with
I
100
miss
fucking
it,
hockey gloves.
but
Oh, especially after they've been on the air dryer. Like, I could sleep in
yeah,
this room with 100 hockey gloves drying off right now, I could kip. Yeah, it wouldn't even bother my fucking senses in 1%. But if you're a
Oh
member of
yeah.
the normal public and you smell that shit for the first time, you are
I'll
going
take
to
you down.
be horrified. Like that
Yeah.
smell is even now though, like obviously Streatham, my brother plays Streatham, right? So it's fucking in L1. It's almost like pub league, but it's a little bit better than that. But I remember like he'd been down my old girls and that he wasn't staying at his missus and that, and I come in the living room and his fucking kit's airing out. It was like under 12s, man. I was like, what the fuck is it was like walking into like back in the day, you conference tournament. You got fucking three. You got one of the lads whose mum and dad couldn't make it, so it's you, your brother, and one of the other lads. You got like three kits in a hotel room. I, I don't wish that smell upon anybody. Like, but for us lot, it was just like don't even notice it. You go to crash. You're some poor actor lad from up Blackpool that's never seen a fucking ice hockey game before. So yeah, lad,
Right. Yeah.
right, you're gonna strap on my sweaty ball sweat, yeah. And, you're gonna smell that. By the way, I've had that jock since I was 12. Like that's got about 9,000 liters of fucking sweat in that jock. Put that on. He must have been going.
Yeah, he was.
All right, I tell you
Yeah.
what, before we go, let's talk about him a little bit, yeah, because I think for a non-ice hockey dude, man, like Jonas did a great job.
Right, so you've seen with my chat from Richie there, super easygoing guy, actually a former junior teammate of mine for my whole career, always been in the insurance game. They're a fantastic family, they come from a great family. They know exactly what they're talking about when it comes to this stuff. There is zero obligation, guys. No one's forcing you to do anything. But what they will do is they will look at getting you the best deal in place for you and your loved ones, for looking after your children, to make sure that they ultimately are going to be looked after long after you're gone. And with that, you can just jump on this next screen here, scan the QR code, you can give them a call, you can go to the email, whatever your preferred method of contact is, reach out. They could end up saving you a fortune, they could end up getting you a much better deal than you already have, and what's better than peace of mind, right? So head over to Easier Life Cover, check those guys out, tell them you got sent by Watty at 4,000 and counting, and you'll get a fantastic deal in place.